Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very accomplished professional from Sydney, Australia, Mr. Melvin Phan. Melvin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me today. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Melvin is the founder and chief executive officer of JJPH, which is a program and project management service. So, Melvin, before I ask you about program and project management, what is JJPH? And tell me a little bit about yourself.
I love it because, yes, this is exactly all my clients ask me the same question as well, to be honest with you. I'm not very good at marketing or branding, to be honest. JJPH is my two sons, Joshua and Jaden.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then Phan, as you can appreciate, my surname is Phan. For me, I started this project, this business with a passion. It's about, it's just about my family. That's what I believe. And, the JJPH name came about that. And as I said, you can appreciate it's not very creative. And
no, I think it's very creative. And so you've immortalized both your sons in your name. That's fantastic.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit now about your role as a project management delivery specialist and some of the industries that you worked in.
Yeah, I mean, I found this company about 5 years ago. I've been in the industry for over 25 years, running different sizes of program projects, from telecommunication, utilities, banking, financial services. And over that period of time, I very, very fortunate working on some of the biggest and probably the largest, most complex program of work. And basically from that, I sort of, a lot of period of time, a few of my sort of colleagues or clients at that stage reach out to me and say, Melvin, do you know any good project manager or program manager? So it's really start from that kind of conversations, really. And then what I also noticed is the fact that, how can I be a bit unique around program project management? What is it I need to do differ? So the way that I believe our organization being as we are the elite, like we are very, very highly specialized. Our team, the team that I recruit, what I consider the elite. I mean, there's certain criteria that I actually have for my team when they join us. And I guess the success rate of recruitment in our organization is quite low, to be honest, just because the expectation I have with my team as well. In saying that, the team have made up of expertise around banking, financial services, health, education, manufacturing, even construction as well. So it's quite diverse and quite different kind of skill set that we bring on board for our clients.
So just to continue with the same line of question, if there is a big project that's being implemented by one of your clients, they call you in to monitor the implementation or to do the implementation?
To do the implementations. Okay. It is really, it's really interesting for us. There, I guess, 45% of our business are called project recovery. A lot of time, our client probably halfway during the project, they realize that there's something's not right, or we're not going to achieve the outcome we wanted. And we need an expert hand to come on board to give us that guidance and support. So that's when they really contact us. So we will come in and then really look at the program, the project, where it's at, and how we can recover it and to reach the outcome that they wanted. So that's sort of the majority, about 45% of our business. The rest of the business start from the very beginning when the company have a vision and strategy. And they said, Melvin, I need your expertise, come in and help us to implement our strategy and our vision that we want to set out. So that can be from a technology implementation to a transformation to a cybersecurity uplift as well. So it's quite diverse for us.
Fascinating. And what is, in your opinion, some of the most challenging aspects of ensuring project delivery?
People always ask me this question, and I have the same question as well sometimes. What I think come down to the end of the day as a project manager or program manager is about communications. If you can manage your stakeholder well, if you can manage your team well, if you can inspire your team to go out their way in doing things. And I think that's probably one of the elements of being sometimes people too focus on the framework, focus on what is the outcome to be. But if you go to the bottom line of it, really good project managers are the one that can really communicate very, very well and inspire them as well, instill confidence to the organization as well.
And you're just telling me about the success rate of people who come and join you. What are some of the key skills or attributes you believe every project management delivery specialist should possess?
For us as the beginning, I did talk about the elite and why they're elite. One of the things I believe years of experience play a critical role in knowing what we do. I myself been within this industry, working in this space over 25 years. And, what's the most insightful thing for me is that, you work on more small project to $100 million program of work, you start to see the pattern coming through. You start to see certain things that, experience will bring with you. And I think that's where one of my key elements around the years of experience. And in a way, I think that's where our uniqueness lie. Another part for me as well is when I start looking at my team, I really want to look at a combined project value. So I actually believe that if a person who have a large, working on a small project, especially a large project, that individual have multiple experience in dealing with different, stakeholders and complexities around outcomes, expectation as well. So that's, I think, some of the key there I like to have. But as the time changed over the last couple of years, I noticed that I like some of my team members to have a very strong international global experience, especially the fact nowadays we are so intertwined as organizations to expand in the global present, and also as well different culture background at the board level and the stakeholders and the team as well. Having that international experience, I think, play a key role.
Very interesting. And what I have experienced with projects over the years, small projects, very large projects, is that target dates normally move to the right. How do you deal with unexpected challenges or roadblocks in a program or a project?
If any project manager come to you and saying that I can guarantee you my hands on heart deliver this project for you on time, then don't get them.
Yes.
If you look at the stat rates of project delivery successful, it's actually quite low. It's not high. I guess at the end of the day, a really highly experienced project manager should really have the ability to predict and see the pattern of a potential challenge coming through. Let's go back to the key things about me in relation to the way that I believe that my team should have is, challenges will occur, roadblock will occur. But at the end of the day, if you can identify those roadblock and challenges, communicate it accordingly, and really manage and focus your team on the right outcomes, I think those are probably the key things that you can overcome those challenges and then the roadblock as well. So yes, I guess as any good project manager has a very strong stakeholders management skill set.
Melvin, when I did my business school 4.5 decades ago, we used to learn about CPM and PERT as two critical aspects of managing projects. My question is, how has program and project management changed or evolved over the years, and how is technology changing it?
Yeah, it's a good question. People, give it 10 or 15 years ago, it's a very traditional, waterfall in how we do things. We go away, get the requirement, develop, test, implement kind of thing. As people's getting more mature, they want things to be quicker, faster, and the transformation, the expectation quicker as well. So a lot of organizations now, they're moving across to an agile way of working. But the different being is actually they put a customer in the lens is very, very important for them. So, it's no longer about, what is it will work? Is this what we wanted? Is it then it's about a customer? The customer can also external, internal as well. So it's not just about, making sure the system, passing tests. Is the adoptions. I think that's a key word there, and the usage. So I guess over the years, the change from very traditional waterfall to more the agile, iterative kind of delivery seems to be the way going as well.
And my next question is that how do you handle competing priorities or shareholder expectations during a program or a project?
This is happening every single day for us, and as a, and any great program managers out there, project manager out there, it's about working out with the key stakeholders to understand where they're coming from and why do they think their priorities, is higher than others as well. Once again, it's come down to stakeholder expectation management. But at the end of the day, as a program project manager, your job is to deliver outcomes. and actually what's the business outcome that you're trying to achieve.
Mm.
If you can really align that expectation, go back to the core purpose of the project that you're trying to deliver, and really communicate it thoroughly with your stakeholders and explain to them why you're trying to focus on the outcomes, I think they will get on board with you as well. So I think at the end of the day, once again, I think it's coming down to, managing, complexity of different stakeholders, understanding where they're coming from, how to actually, appreciate their concern or what they're doing. But at the same time, your job as a good project manager is to understand and also to guide them to the best outcomes.
And Melvin, would you say that, stakeholder expectations for a for-profit organization are similar or not so similar to a social sector project, which is, say, you're building a whole riverfront or a waterfront project, which is being done by the city, as compared to a project that's being done by a commercial organization?
I think it's all the same. We recently doing, as part of my company policy, is actually giving back as well. So we're doing a fair bit of pro bono work for a lot of charity. And we currently working on a construction bill, for example. Yeah, at the end of the day, the framework's still the same. The expectations still the same. There shouldn't be any difference at all between, a profitable business versus a non-profitable business. The outcome expected to be the same as well. So it's really up to us as a project manager to deliver those outcomes, no matter what.
Interesting. My next question is about measuring success. Clearly one metric for measuring success is an on-time and on-budget delivery. But are there any other ways to measure success other than just on time and on budget?
I think on time and budget is, I wouldn't say that as probably the key success. One of the things, I think one of the major things that people focusing on now as well, with the whole, moving to more the agile way of working, but more that customer-centric view, is that the adoptions and then also the success of adoptions as well. For us, our organization has been, the success criteria is not about can we meet the project on time, can we meet the project on budgets, and scope, because that's realistically, a lot of people measure on those three core elements. But one of the things that we measure is actually what's the customer experience like? Are they really truly using the platform that we did deploy? Are they really embracing the new technologies that we work with them over the years to do? So I think that's one of the key elements of success. Seeing people really loving what they do that we implemented. I think that's part of the key success criteria that a project manager should be focusing on.
Very interesting. Another thing that I thought I'd ask you was, what happens in a situation where the original project goals become unachievable, or if there's a force majeure kind of a situation that arises, or there are some unforeseen circumstances? How would you handle something like that?
Once again, and any good project manager should have the expertise and can see the pattern already occurred in advance, and really coming down to, again, about managing the expectations and the goals. You have to basically, reset the goal of the projects, where it's heading, what is it you need to achieve again, with the key stakeholder management involvement, of course. And basically, once again, as a project manager, your job is to communicate it thoroughly, put together a proper plan of options that the stakeholder can sort of decide, and then basically achieve that revised outcome for organizations. I think one of the key elements, though, is at the end of the day, it's not just about the stakeholders, but also the team behind you. Because the project manager is the front face, just the core face of the projects, right? Behind the project manager, there are like multiple group of people who dedicated, probably the doer is probably the right word. And it's your job then to basically, how can you empower them or motivate them to reset themselves to achieve the new goals that have been set as well. And I think that's probably the key part of being a good project manager.
And we've all just come out of the pandemic, 2.5 to 3 years work from home, locked in, etc. How has this whole move towards remote work impacted program and project delivery?
For us, as my business, is actually huge. It's probably the right word. In pre-COVID is very much, our client expect us to be on site. So that's actually quite hard. And that's actually what we have noticed for myself and the business has always been the significant growth is due to the remote working model. What you have seen now in our particular line of work is that due to the fact that people are now get used to the remote way of working, we are now getting client, from Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, South Australia, and Melbourne, where our team member can be remotely working as well in delivering the projects. So that itself had changed quite dramatically in relation to how we as a program project management team work. Of course, there's instances where the client would say, I'd like you to be on site, and we can do that as well, but it's very rarely nowadays they can accept that. So yeah, but then I guess at the end of the day, being remote can also bring a lot of, I guess, headaches and also issue as well, especially go back to the two core things I mentioned before around stakeholder management, around team motivation, stuff like that as well. So the way that you do that can be different than the good old days. The good old days, you can bring your team, can go down to get, team bonding kind of thing. Nowadays, remote is actually, you don't have that ability anymore. And I think that's where I think a good program project manager can understand that, can sort of need to work out a way that they can still engage and and provide the right outcomes for the team and the stakeholders.
Great response, thank you. And given the kind of technology that we are now seeing, AI, AR, VR, and so much of robotics is now coming in, how is technology impacting the way projects are delivered today as compared to when you started?
Yeah, look, it's a very good question. From what we've seen, technology is an enabler. That's how we see it, and our job is really about helping that technology to be implemented in a way that can be sort of enhanced operation business efficiencies, bringing the outcomes they want to vision strategies. So I guess from a project management, there's certainly, from a technology deliverable point of view, we don't see much differ in relation to the technology itself. But in relation to, what we do as from a project managers, they definitely improve a lot the way how we manage, right, our planning, our strategies, our execution, risk management, the traditional project things that we normally do quite manually in the past can now do quite automatic, in a very seamless way as well. So that's probably the improvement that I have seen so far. I mean, they talk about having AI project management, and I've seen some of the most amazing use case out there, where it can be done. But I still believe at the end of the day, I think that human elements still have to be involved to help that, to translate that in some way. So yes, I don't think technology will replace project management in any form in the near future. I think it's more of a enabler, but also a supporting function for us as a project manager.
Well said. So I have time for two more questions for you.
Sure.
My next question is that what is one mistake you made in your career, and what did you learn from it when it comes to program and project management?
I guess I can probably give you an example here. I mean, that you can appreciate, there's a lot of scar and bad in my line of work. But probably I don't look at this more from a project's point of view, because every project has a unique challenge. But from a personal career point of view, when I start out, as a young, thinking I know it all, that I'm an expert in this space. And I think that's probably one of the things that I learned is that you got to surround yourself with, guidance, mentor who can give you that kind of advice and honest to you as well. I think when you're young, sometimes you think you know it all, but yes, you don't. And I think as I grow older and wiser, hopefully in some way, that's what I believe, as my advice to a lot of my mentees, and this is what I do a lot of mentorship as well to a lot of people out there. I always advise them, when you're young, grab a mentor, grab someone who's a guide that can provide you guidance offline, both professionally and personally as well. So to me, that's probably one of the lessons learned I made mistake-wise. I should have done a lot earlier when I was a lot younger.
Very interesting. So, but you've almost taken the words out of my mouth on lessons. You were giving me one lesson. I was going to ask you for 3 lessons. So give me 2 more lessons you would want our viewers and listeners to take away from your own journey.
One of the things that I always encourage, even my 2 sons as well, is that you never stop learning. And then you never, technology evolved, technology would change. You had to be on top of it. But at the same time, as a personal development point of view, I always believe the ongoing learning is a key part of life, and I think that's something key part. The second point I wanted to emphasize, giving back, help others, is a key part. I myself is very fortunate. I'm not sure I've explained at the beginning. My family is from a migrant family. We came here as a migrant to Australia with nothing, and in a way, when you've been brought up in that environment where you probably have nothing from scratch, I always believe that what we have received in Australia and the people surround us, giving us so much when we were younger. I want my kids and the people to know that. I think this is something we as we should give back as well. So to me, probably the two key things that I probably advise people to do.
Amazing. And on that note, Melvin, and your 3 amazing lessons. Your first one was get yourself a mentor or a guide. Second, you said never stop learning. And the third one, you said giving back is very important. Thank you so much for speaking to me about JJPH, about program and project management. Thank you for talking to me about so many different aspects of program and project management. I learned some new things from you today. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time as well.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.